The Descendants of Wing Chun is a 1978 martial arts film directed by Wang Ha, a director that is seemingly known for films centred around a gimmick with titles such as Mr. Vampire, New Mr. Vampire and Encounters of the Spooky Kind. This film's gimmick is that the lead actor is a bit fat and thinks he's better at kung fu than he is. That's it. That's both the comedy element and one of the main plot drives for the film, and for what it's worth it wears pretty thin after about 10 minutes of screen time. The plot of this film is paper thin and isn't helped by a series of subplots that don't really develop and a frankly atrocious dub both technically and in a performance sense, which largely makes the audio unintelligible, though having persevered through the film my understanding while limited is thus. The film opens with two thugs having a sporting fight on a beach. The loser of this fight then storms off and is arrested for a crime he committed in the past, and he's placed in prison. However, after a few years he eventually breaks out and seeks revenge on the man who put him there, the master of the local temple, Liang Chan, who then disappears till about halfway through the second act. The film then spends the rest of the first, second and a good chunk of the third act following what I believe is our main character, Fatty Kui. His actual name is Fatty Kui. Fatty works as the owner of a local butcher's shop and also may or may not be training with a kung fu master. The film isn't really all that clear.
This is an orange. If I peel off its skin, it's ready to eat. But if you save the seeds and then plant the seeds, then it will grow again. Do you understand, little Quay?
I see. You mean when we're fighting, we have to protect the ball?
Not that. All I'm trying to say is be merciful. Don't go killing people, and you'll find people respect you.
All right. But if I meet somebody who pushes me too far...
Then don't use oranges. Use bananas.
What do you mean?
Because the banana has no pips.
I still don't get it.
No, really do I. Because my teacher never explained it properly to me.
It's played from the off that Fatty is very overconfident in his ability and quite arrogant about how amazing he is. What doesn't help matters is he's eventually coaxed into fighting a guard at the local bank for a dare, and the guard pities him and throws the fight. Thoroughly ego-boosted, Fatty decides to take on Liang Chan and thoroughly gets beaten. With his pride bruised, he returns to his master for additional training, and after both Liang Chan and Fatty's master meet, they decide to swap students, and Fatty begins training with Liang Chan, just in time for our imprisoned thug to return to the film as he arrives at the temple and finally begins to hunt down Liang Chan. And that's pretty much it. One of the biggest problems with this film is that it creates several subplots and then never resolves them or just simply abandons them with little or no care. It also seems to have no element of character development, with characters quite literally becoming kung fu masters almost immediately after they've just said they've never had any fighting training. This is amplified by a twist at the opening of the third act that left me quite literally speechless and reduced the film to an absolute utter mess. The film's so bad it doesn't even really end, it just stops on a freeze frame. It's an entirely bland affair. The direction's utterly flat, a crash zoom is considered the height of creativity for this film. One of the weirdest examples of this is that the film constantly swaps between genuine night shots and shots that have been altered in the same way day for night shots would be altered if it were the day. But it isn't. It's night. It's one of the strangest set of directional choices I've seen in a film, and it really isn't helped by the lacklustre editing, which is very slapdash, and more often than not has cuts happen either way too early or just too late. It looks really sloppy, it feels very generic, unprofessional, and ultimately it's just boring to look at. The cinematography is much the same, flat, lifeless, no creativity, just painting by numbers. It's bland and uninteresting and feels like the cinematographer could not be less bothered in terms of a nice composition. Adding to this is the fact that much like The Dragon Lives Again, another title released by Vengeance Videos, the film appears to have been copied over directly from XVHS stock. It's quite washed out and full of tape faults throughout. The encoding has also been fluffed, meaning that realistically it's border unwatchable. It took me the best part of half an hour just to get used to it. The acting by a hair's breadth coasts into what I would consider acceptable, but it's incredibly over the top, and quite honestly it straddles the line between being just about passable and being ridiculously, almost enjoyably bad. Now, what is this film's only saving grace, and basically the only thing that has stopped me from binning this film outright, is the dubbing, which, while terribly distorted and poor quality, quite frankly has to be heard to be believed. The film opens with characters that mainly sound either like Old West cowboys or thick-accented New Yorkers. Then, completely out the blue, half the cast suddenly end up with Cockney accents, and nothing can prepare you for our main character Fatty's voice as a Kung Fu Yorkshireman.
That'll teach you. You fool around and I do all the work.
Look, why? I didn't mean to, but last night after a meal, we got a bit drunk. And then, walking back, I saw there was a show. It was a very good fight, I'll tell you.
What was that?
A good show, much better than usual, you know.
Really? What was it about?
Oh, well, I got into a fight in the back alley. There were several young thugs, but he beat them all up. Look away. Even your kung fu doesn't bear comparison to his.
What's that? You think my kung fu's no good?
You sure about that? You want to bet on it?
Of course. 5, no, 50.
Okay, it's a deal. I'll take you to meet him later tonight.
All of these are incredibly over the top and camp to boot. It's hilarious, actually hilarious. There are moments that really wouldn't feel out of place in a Monty Python film. This dub was definitely not intended for this film, which I believe was supposed to have a couple of funny moments, but predominantly was supposed to be the kind of film you laugh with, rather than laugh at. The dub is the absolute best thing about this film, but even then I don't think it's enough to pull it up. The Descendants of Wing Chun was released on DVD in 2004 and is available from Vengeance Video. At the time of writing, it's both out of print but still available on Amazon for almost next to nothing. One of the things that did catch my eye about this release was the extra features, or rather the lack of extra features. Including on this disc is a training film from a London-based Kung Fu Academy, which much like the feature has been stretched into a ridiculous aspect ratio and encoded terribly. This means that everyone looks squat and pixelated. It's also far from inspiring. It feels very much like someone at Vengeance Video was doing a mate a favour. A separate extra on this page is literally just a freeze frame of the Kung Fu Academy's contact details, which after doing some investigating, I found that the website is long expired, so I'm assuming the Academy is closed as well. There's also an interview that's fairly bland and a coming soon trailer that's literally just posters of films that are coming soon to their label. They barely constitute as extras, and again they come across almost as pointless and ridiculous as the film itself. The Descendants of Wing Chun is an utter mess of a production, with little to no thought put into the direction, almost no thought put into the cinematography, a lacklustre set of additional features, shocking print quality with some scenes being so murky as to be almost unwatchable, bland fight scenes, multiple convoluted and unsatisfying plot lines complementing a bland and uninteresting main plot, barely functioning acting, and a ridiculous dub. I can't even begin to categorise this film. It's got martial arts elements, but it's too daft to be serious. Yet it takes itself too seriously to be a comedy. It's film sludge, devoid of any interesting scenes or creativity. I want to say it's incoherent, but there are elements of a plot there. It just takes a tremendous amount of effort and focus to understand it. I also want to say it's inconsistent, but it never really relies on a plot to begin with. To be completely honest, if it wasn't for the dub, this film would just absolutely suck. If you're bored and you want to laugh and you find this film going for free or less, pick it up. Otherwise, avoid it like the plague.